Good morning. We're live. Just want to check with you whether you can hear us well. You can use please use the chat function of webinar software to let us know you're there and whether you can hear us. Let's see if we can get the first people responding. Jenny, yes, good. Good morning, welcome. Peter. Michelle, good. Melanie, okay. So, Henry, good morning. Yep. So I guess we're good to go. So once again, good morning. We're here live in Amsterdam, and welcome to this webinar on innovating like startups. It's going to be a full morning, a full session. We have about an hour planned for you. And let's get going. Let's make this an interactive session, and we'll give you some instructions on how to do that a little bit later on in the session. So I don't know about you, but I feel we're living in challenging times, both in our private lives as well as in the way we run our business. And we are trying to adapt to something which now is being called the new normal. And within this new normal, it's all about retaining relevance. And the way we feel at RevelX that relevance can be retained best is by continuously innovating. And innovation as key to your core strategy means you have to realign yourself to a new reality. So we have to make sense of what's going on and make sure that we are aligned to that new reality. You have to reinvent ourselves, think about, why are we in business? How are we in business? And what does it mean to be in business in this time? But also realize the changes that are ahead of us. And at RevelX, we have this mantra, which we call never waste a good crisis. And the objective, obviously, with this crisis is that we aim to get out of it stronger than we went into it before. And we strongly believe that innovation is the core to doing that. My name is Matthijs Bosman. I'm a partner at RevelX. Together with my colleague Erik de Groot, I wrote a book, Dare, which we placed obviously in front of us here, just to give it some extra emphasis. But Dare is basically a book which tells you how to sort of tune your mindset to change and changing environment in this digital age. And at RevelX, I'm an innovation specialist. We work with companies to put them onto a innovative path towards growth. We work with a myriad of companies from various sizes and various industries. And this morning I'm joined by our partner, Wilfred Harbers from Sofware AG. Wilfred, good morning. You mind introducing yourself and Sofware AG a little bit?
Yeah, thank you, Matthijs. Yeah, my name is Wilfred Harbers.
1 second, he's muted. Yeah, Wilfred, go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, my name is Wilfred Harbers. I'm the Chief Technology Officer in the Benelux for Sofware AG, based out of Amsterdam. My team and myself, we work with customers that have a myriad of systems in place, a complex IT landscape, and we typically work on digital projects with them while leveraging their existing systems. We deliver software solutions around API management and hybrid integration, for instance, including IoT and analytics. So yeah, happy to present today. My presentation will be mainly about one of our largest customers in the life sciences industry.
Okay, thank you, Wilfred. So so this morning we will share insights on best practices on improving your innovation power. We will then look at how business and IT can work together and reinforce each other in accelerating innovation. As Wilfred just pointed out, we'll be discussing a real life case from DSM in which hopefully it will come together where a business transformation and digital transformation can reinforce each other. Well, I see you're active in the chat already, so that's good. We'd like to use the chat for you to ask questions. If you have a specific question for me or Wilfred, please point it out. I have Rob here in the background. Rob will be collating all of the questions, and we will answer them in a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So please, as we go along, put your questions in the comments, and we will address them at the end. And also, I should point out, which is a bit of a cliffhanger, is that we have a nice surprise for you at the end. An opportunity to win something, which is also always interesting for people to stick along and stay on the ride till the end of this webinar. So here we go. So as I said before, we feel that continuous innovation is the key to sustained business growth. This was the case before we were confronted with the COVID-19 crisis. We use this phrase to say, okay, you have to keep innovating to ward off disruptors. And COVID is, appearing to be one of the major disruptors in our lifetime. The basic premises of this is if you keep innovating, you will stay relevant. And relevance is all about maintaining what we call product market fit. So having a key sense of what your market is all about and what you're offering your customers. And what we are seeing is that a lot of companies are losing their product market fit. And I put on the screen a quote from Andrew Chen, which I took from his podcast, Growth in Turbulent Times, where he says, as a corporate investor, we see a lot of businesses lose their product market fit, which essentially means that you're sort of back to square zero, and you have to start rethinking your business altogether. And obviously, we see a lot of evidence of this. For example, in the entertainment industry, we're not allowed to have large gatherings anymore. So entertainment companies have to rethink how they will deliver their content and deliver their services. Obviously, the same holds for the tourism industry. A lot of the airlines are in trouble, but also hotel chains and a lot of other players in the industry are having a tough time readjusting. And obviously, the key is to rethink their business models and turn them around very quickly, or risk eradication altogether. So it really is a game of sort of survival of the fittest, and we feel that successful innovators will separate themselves from the disrupted. They will ultimately survive. Actually, players who aren't able to do that will probably see disappear over a short period of time. At RevelX, we launched the Innovation Readiness Benchmark, I think about a year and a half ago, in which we basically give companies the ability to assess their innovation power against our benchmark, but also against the innovative powerhouses in the industry. The problem with innovation, especially in a corporate environment, is that a lot of innovation actually fails. And we're actually interested to start off this discussion with you is how you think how you are doing in terms of innovation readiness. So we have a short poll. You should see it on the right side of your screen. And basically, we would like you to respond to this question of how you assess your own innovation power. So we have 5 possibilities. One is quite poor, one's not good enough, okay-ish, pretty good, or absolutely best in class. So if you take some time to respond. Getting some answers in. That's interesting. Okay, maybe just 5 more seconds. Yep. Okay, so what we're seeing from this poll is that about 1/3 of you says it's not good enough, 1/3 says we're okay-ish, and 1/3 is pretty good. So that's interesting. If you look at the statistics from our research, we see that about 50% rates their innovation performance as average at best. 18% it's not good enough, and 29% is satisfied. So that is more or less in line with this poll, but it's it's an alarming statistic, especially if you look at where we are today, and if you adopt our belief that innovation is the key to overcome this crisis, then obviously this is a weak signal. What we're seeing through the Innovation Readiness Benchmark is that it's really a play of two things. So companies who are excelling have a really good answer on where to innovate, but also know how to innovate within their businesses. And we'd just like to take a little bit of time to explain a little bit about what we mean with this. If you talk about where to innovate within our book, Eric and I, we described a model which we call the 3x3 tactics for growth, which essentially provides a framework for, let's say, balanced innovation. What we see happening within our clients, and we look at, for example, innovation pipelines, we often see lopsided innovation pipelines. For example, B2B companies who have a tendency to focus on technology, are very internally focused with respect to innovation. And a lot of B2C companies who are either very product oriented or are basically innovating with price, which we just call a promotion. The 3x3 tactics for growth actually provides you with a richer framework for innovation. And basically it's made up of, let's say, three main areas for innovation. One is business model, the second is product and service, and the third is customer interface. And basically what we're saying is that if you take elements from these three areas of innovation, you're going to end up with a much stronger innovative play than if you just focus on one. So if we just quickly dive into these three areas, for example, business model. So business model is all about, so how do you make your money, right? So what is your profit model like, or your value proposition, if you will. And the second area is about partnerships, especially in this day and age. We see that most innovative companies, they partner up with other companies to provide winning value propositions. But also processes. Are you able to to bolster your business against what's going on in the outside world? And with many of our clients, we get a lot of questions around value chains, for example. So the COVID-19 crisis is showing us that most of the value chains that our clients operate are quite vulnerable, and they're looking to simplify and shorten their value chains. And essentially, innovating in your value chain development is quite a good strategy in this time. The second area of innovation revolves around products and service, and we again distinguish three areas within products and service in which you can innovate. The first one is function. It's the function of your products and service. How can you use your products and services to deliver different value for your customers, for example? But also brand. Brand is typically used to emit emotions to your target audience. And how can you play with brand to position yourself differently into the market? And what we're also seeing is something which we tend to call platform innovation within products and service, where products and services are bundled to provide a whole new type of value to your customers. And to give you some illustration of this, especially around function, I'm sure now I've been working from home most of the time. I'm in the office today, but working from home most of the time, and sort of trying to balance, work and life. Working from home 95% of the time is quite a challenge. So we see hotels actually, they're actually picking up on this, and they say, okay, we're just going to rent out our hotel rooms. So you can rent it for a day, work there, and be away from your family and your private life for some time, which is actually quite a smart play to utilize your resources and provide some new value. But also in terms of brand innovation, I'm not sure whether you know this this car, but this is the Polestar, which is essentially Volvo's electric vehicle. Volvo decided to launch a new brand, Polestar, which is all about it's about emitting the values of being fast and sporty, and actually giving their electronic vehicle line a very distinguished look, which sets them apart from let's say the traditional Volvo brand. So essentially innovating from a brand perspective. And the third element of where to innovate is around the customer interface. So when we talk about either the business model, which is very internally oriented, the customer interface is very externally oriented. So think about how you can innovate from a service perspective. What kind of services can you deliver? How can you deliver the extra mile? But also think about distribution. Many of our clients, they think about, okay, how do I distribute my products to market nowadays? Can I go direct to consumer? Do I adopt an omni-channel model? Or do I develop a hybrid distribution model? Especially in this era of COVID, where people tend to shop more from home, or are afraid to go out, or would not like to have this sort of these high touch channels, where in effect, rethinking your distribution is actually quite relevant. And ultimately, when we think about engagement, it's all about what kind of experiences you want your customers to provide. So how do you want to be memorable? How do you want to be personalized and relevant in that sense? One of the clients that we've been working with for quite some time in the past, in the bicycle industry, was disrupted by this little company called Canyon, which did a very good job of sort of combining the elements of, let's say, a new distribution model, but also putting a very innovative product in the market. Canyon is actually offering a sports bike at about actually about 2/3 of the cost of, let's say, a mainstream brand at equal specifications, but also providing a new type of customer experience and essentially innovating how the industry works. So this is actually a very nice play on combining a number of tactics in coming up with, let's say, relevant and future-proof positioning. So then, if you remember, when we just talked about where to innovate, and our sort of advice would be to adopt quite a few elements of that 3x3 matrix. The other element is about how to innovate. And getting back to that innovation readiness benchmark, which I just talked about, I would just want to quickly go through a number of best practices that we've seen that you can test yourself against with respect to how to innovate within your business. There are 7 elements, and the first element revolves around innovation strategy. And innovation strategy really revolves around, okay, so how do I use innovation to safeguard my future growth? Where does my growth come from? Having a clear innovation strategy will help you sort of direct your intentions, but also direct your budgets in terms of innovation. The second best practice that we see of really good innovators is that they're truly customer-centric. So a lot of innovation can revolve around internal processes or around your profit model or around your partnerships. But you won't be able to deliver the real value unless you understand what your market is about, and unless you sort of take that market requirements into your company and steer your innovation efforts towards that. A third element of best practice, which we've seen, revolves around organizational agility. I mean, one can be sort of very good at coming up with new ideas, but if you're not able to execute on them, or your organization is sort of stalled within a certain mode of operation, then you won't see any benefit out of it. So organizational agility, or let's just put it the other way, speed to adaptation is quite an important element for effective innovation. And the fourth element we look at is the best practices around the organization of innovation, especially within the corporate environment, in which, let's say, the predominant mode is around execution of the core business. Innovation is sometimes tucked away into a department, or even put into an external entity. Which can obviously work, if that's necessary to make it happen within your organization. But think about the organization of the innovation function within your organization, and how it can help you speed up time to market for your innovations. A fifth one is around innovation portfolio management. When working with clients, we always look for a balanced innovation portfolio. We just talked about the type of innovations within your portfolio, but also the horizons over which one innovates. I'm pretty sure that most of you are familiar with the 3 horizons, which basically revolve around protecting your core towards transforming the business. Successful innovators have quick wins, or at least, let's say, short-term innovation results, as well as the larger transformations at play, which then, obviously the shorter ones, they energize the business to work on the longer-term innovations as well. The sixth element of best practice is what we call the innovation skills and competences. And this is where, if you take a sort of broad strokes look at the outcome of the innovation readiness benchmark, this is where many of the participants actually struggle, especially around getting to speed of innovation and getting or reducing the time to market or time to value for innovations. Having the right skills and competences in your organization is crucial, and we see that having sort of a very healthy dose of lean startup and design thinking coupled with agile within your organization is the key to successful growth through innovation. And ultimately, it's all about culture and culture and leadership. The famous quote, Peter Drucker, is that culture eats strategy for breakfast, still holds up, especially in an innovative environment. If you don't provide air cover to as senior management, don't provide air cover to your innovative endeavors, they are bound to fail, or at least their chances of survival are very slim. So once again, these are the seven areas of best practice, which you can test your own organization against by using our innovation readiness benchmark. And at the end of this webinar, we'll provide you a link to the innovation readiness benchmark, and also provide you with a nice incentive to start measuring yourself against these best practices. So when working with our clients on innovation and transformation, we tend to see that digital is the norm. Digital strategy as such is no longer sort of an end in itself, but it's something that's sort of front and central to most innovation efforts. But at the same time, we also see that pulling off a digital transformation is quite hard to do. That's why we work together with the guys at Sofware AG, and I would like to ask Wilfred to take over and explain how digital transformation can be accelerated through Sofware AG services.
Yep, thank you, Matthijs. So my presentation will be mainly about how to innovate and how to apply new digital innovation while leveraging your ERP and your back office systems. And this is done via the so-called appification of your data, the appification of your ERP. So we use digital APIs to unlock data sets from your existing ERP and CRM systems. And this allows you to roll out systems of innovation and differentiation while leveraging the systems of records like a Salesforce system, like an SAP ERP system, etc. And we will do this via our low-code hybrid API management solution. So to put it a little bit into context, what we see a lot in the market is that companies are failing with their ERP projects. Their migration of ERP or big upgrades are taking too long or are even cancelled and are not delivering the value that they should be delivering. Does this mean that ERP like SAP has become obsolete? Well, not at all. And so ERP has its function for the back office, for order to cash and those kind of business processes. But you need to stick to the core and use ERP for what it's good for, which is back office functionality. So why did those recent ERP projects fail very often? Because they were trying to do digital innovation through a monolithic approach. Put a lot of custom coding, maatwerk in good Dutch, in their monolithic ERP system. That's not a good match. It's very labor intensive, it's costly and risky. So it's way better to adopt for a phased approach, work in an agile way, like Matthijs was also pointing out, and deliver some quick digital wins. And that's what I would like to show you in this presentation. So in fact, what you could say, you have with your existing IT landscape, let's focus on ERP mainly. You have two choices. You can follow the ERP supplier, and which means at the left, the old way. This is a very expensive and less flexibility option. It's very often risky. Looking at recent examples in the market in different industries where retailers or service providers were not successful in upgrading their very complex ERP landscape. It's difficult. It's slow speed to market, and you are only able to modernize after the migration or after the big ERP upgrades, which is modernizing in 3 years from now. Where if you look at the right, the other way of working is by unlocking the data sets of your ERP, keep it in place, use ERP for what it's good for, and apply an API management layer to supply the data via digital APIs for new digital innovation projects. This leads to way more flexibility, agility, and has less risk. And what we've seen with customers, like the one I will talk about in a few minutes, is that you can deliver results even in a few months very quickly to the business. So the customer I would like to talk about is DSM. DSM originally stands for the Dutch State Mines. Well, they're not in that business since many years anymore. And so coal mining was originally the business. Then in the 90s, they were in petrochemicals. And this company has grown through lots of acquisitions and divestments. And so also the petrochemicals business was divested, and the money was spent in acquiring big vitamins companies. So DSM today is a global nutrition nutrition company, healthcare company, and is in fact the largest vitamin supplier in the world. This means that they have different business groups, and so they're also acting in the high performance material market, which is completely different from nutrition and health. This means that those different business groups and operating companies have their existing and well-working ERP systems, of which many of those are from SAP. So consider this, DSM has about 33 ERP systems, of which more than 20 are from SAP. This, of course, leads to a lot of integration needs, process harmonization, like harmonizing procure to pay, harmonizing order to cash, etc. So this is DSM, a global company headquartered in the Netherlands. What I will show is how we integrated digital APIs for innovation with and for DSM. And we did that via the bridging and the integration of cloud systems and on-premise applications like SAP. The way of working is also very important, like you saw in Matthijs' presentation. You need to have the right skills and mindset in your company to call off such digital innovation. So DSM did this with multi-location developments. So developing in the Netherlands, in India, and in other regions of the world, and working in an agile way to deliver fast results to the business. And this resulted in becoming more in control, and this resulted also in improved order to cash processes. So let's have a look a little bit more at the IT landscape of DSM. So high level, at the bottom you see their existing IT landscape with existing databases, product information management systems with recipes, product data systems, legacy ERP systems such as from SAP, other ERP systems such as Microsoft Dynamics, and big data. So the application of ERP and CRM allowed them to apply new digital innovation at the front. For instance, robotic process automation, the RPA solution that was put in place to automate key business processes via robotic process automation. Another big application of digital is to sell existing products and services in different markets. So DSM, as the largest vitamin supplier in the world, they would like to sell their bulk vitamins to markets like China. What we did is we enabled digital APIs to connect to marketplaces like Alibaba for the Chinese markets. And we did the same thing for eBay in the Americas. And so connect, adapt, and integrate to local digital markets to enable DSM to sell existing products and services in different markets. A third application of digital was Amelia. And Amelia is a chatbot software. You can go to the portal of DSM as a supplier or as a customer, and you can get payments, payment status, you can get order status, tracking status, etc. instantly via the chatbot. Amelia is in the meantime replaced by other chatbot software. So there's another virtual assistant now at the front implemented. But this change in their IT landscape only costed them a few days to loosely couple the old chatbot software and implement the new chatbot software. And this is because of the decoupling via APIs. DSM also heavily invested in a low-code app development platform, Mendix. So Mendix is used to develop quite some business apps. And one of those apps is the Optimum Vitamin Nutrition application that I will talk about later. So APIs are used via the Sofware AG API management layer, and they serve the Mendix apps because the data has to come from the back office systems, from ERP and CRM, and it's served to the app platform. So if you look at the organization is a true bimodal IT organization at DSM. And so there's the mode 1 operation that is running the business systems, running the systems of records like SAP. And there's the mode 2 organization, which is the digital organization, which are building fast digital apps for innovation and differentiation. Those apps are changing more often. and sometimes they are an ad hoc workflow app. Sometimes they are the chatbot software, so they have a shorter life cycle than the systems of records in the back office like SAP. So how was this done? This was done with the Sofware AG platform, which was traditionally an integration platform, delivering capabilities like you see in the gray boxes, application integration, B2B integration, including EDI integration for the supply chain, managed file integration, process orchestration across different ERP and CRM applications, and data management and data virtualization. Then we applied new capabilities, such as the mobile integration with the Mendix apps. We delivered on big data integration with AWS and other big data storages. There's event and IoT integration embedded in this platform. So in fact, it's a true API management and hybrid integration platform. With an API gateway, with an API catalog to find and to use APIs for digital. So this whole platform is complete future ready and is microservice enabled, and it serves also the agile teams at DSM. This platform is available from the cloud, so it's an integration platform as a service, an iPaaS, with true API management capabilities. So let us have even a little bit more detailed look at the IT landscape. What we did with and for DSM is that we implemented a loose coupling layer. So we implemented the system API layer connecting the back office systems and CRM. We have a business and entity API layer, and think about entities like customer, order, products, plans. Those kind of entities are serving also the digital APIs at the upper layer. So the e-commerce and digital channel APIs are connecting to the different digital marketplaces, to the chatbot software, to the Mendix apps. But also one good example is the Optimum vitamin nutrition app, which is delivered by DSM to one of their to their customers, being the farmers that want to have nutrition information for their cattle, for their cows, etc. Those farmers are operating in for instance, South America. The app needs to be very responsive, of course, needs to be real time, and while the data is coming from a product information system that runs in a data center over here in Europe. So we implemented caching and a decoupling layer between the front end APIs and the back end APIs. So this is the art of doing loose coupling for your business data sets to make those available for apps and other digital innovation projects. So if we look a little bit more at the bimodal way of working, actually serving the appification of your ERP and CRM. So you see the different people working at DSM. So we have the web methods developers that work on the integration of the on-premise web methods, which is a Sofware AG component, which unlocks the different SAP systems, like you see at the bottom, SAP System 12, SAP System 14, and Microsoft Dynamics. We have in the middle the second community, which are the API designers and API developers and security specialists. And so there's, of course, policies between the back-end API, the data sets, and the front-end APIs. And that's done via these layers. And then we have the citizen developers and the portal developers that make the data sets available for the new digital apps. So these are not completely separated teams. These are true multimodal way of working, or a bimodal way of working. People that work on the mode 1 and people that work on mode 2, working on in the same agile projects. So maybe a short animation how this works in practice. For instance, a payment status API. And so imagine you would go to the chatbots via the portal, and you only know your invoice number, which is invoice 123, and you know the vendor number 456. It does a request, it goes to the big data storage, and there it finds the target system, which is SAP number 14, for that specific operating company of DSM. So you don't have to know that it's for that specific operating company of DSM. Neither you have to know which target system it has to go through. Then via the loosely coupled architecture, it goes to the on-premise SAP system. It retrieves the payment status and the payment date, and it returns instantly in real time to the chatbot those fields, so that you can get your order status, your payment status instantly via this API layer. So if I summarize actually the two choices that DSM had initially, which is a couple of years ago, they had basically two choices for their new strategy that required agility and speed. Initially, it was suggested by the boards and by external advisors to upgrade the SAP course, but this would mean to upgrade all 32 ERP systems, including the non-SAP systems, and would mean a consolidation to S/4HANA. But it was not clear what the end result would be after 2 years of doing migration and upgrades. So that's why they chose for the right option, which is a digital business platform, as they call it, and it's served by a flexible API and orchestration layer across the various business systems, like SAP and like the non-SAP systems. They gained immediate business value because of this, and it's also they were staying away from the risky ERP harmonization. They did process harmonization, but they didn't do the system harmonization. So they kept the systems in place. So summarizing the benefits that DSM achieved was delivering business value right from the start via a bimodal digital approach, working hand in hand with digital, with the systems of records, the IT department. They delivered API enablement and orchestration of more than 30 ERP systems in a matter of weeks, and they stayed away from costly and risky ERP consolidation to SAP S/4HANA. So this summarizes my presentation. So what we've seen is that you can roll out systems of innovation and differentiation by applying a low-code API management layer, and often that is combined with a low-code app platform, and like Mendix that delivers some business apps, and you're leveraging, in fact, your data sets for 360 degrees view on your business data. Thank you.
Okay, Wilfred, thank you for your presentation. I think we have another, let's say, a poll coming up. Rob will put it onto the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. So after listening to Wilfred's question, we would like to have your input on if you feel that your existing ERP is limiting your digital innovation. Let's see how that plays out. The answers are rolling in. still, it's now at 50-50. Oh, okay. Okay, so in terms of how ERP is limiting digital innovation, you see 33% of the people fully agree, 60% are neutral, and 7% disagree. Wilfred, is that a statistic that you recognize? Is it something that you expect? How do you see that when interacting with your clients?
Yeah, I think I recognize this from the market. I think there's an echo here. So it is also depends on how your company is structured. DSM was a company that go through merger and acquisitions. So that means many ERP systems in place with some custom coding. So it really depends on your situation. A lot of custom coding in ERP is usually a problem to do digital innovation if you just leverage your ERP system.
Okay, so let's go into the Q&A. We have about 15 or actually 14 minutes left. So what became clear from, I think, hopefully became clear from the two discussions is that you know, the Sofware AG platform really is an enabler for an effective innovation strategy, be it, you know, delivering new products or services to market quickly, or enabling new distribution models, or fueling new services for your clients. So we have some questions that came in during the presentation. I think the first one is from Pete. Pete asks, so in corporate sales and IT are often the blocking conservative functions for innovation. What to do about it? Well, Pete didn't specifically ask one of us this question, but I assume we can answer it from both perspectives. If I may start from our perspective, I think, yes, you're right. Sales and IT tend to be the most conservative players in innovation. What to do about it? We tend to start with a clear vision for innovation. So we build the case, we really build the why for innovation, but also engage them in actually coming up with a promise of value. So how does innovation help you in your business, help you do your job a lot better? But it's also about role division. So what is your role versus the role of the business? We work with many clients where IT is taking a very, let's say, a very conservative role in what can and cannot be done, and actually crippling business opportunities. And once we start sort of taking apart, you know, what should be done to run the current business versus what should be done to change the business to adapt to a new reality, and you know, it quickly becomes better. But ultimately, it's always about delivering value. So being able to deliver on your promises in the end. Maybe Wilfred, you might want to respond to this question as well. What do you guys do to convince sales and IT to get onto the application bandwagon?
Yeah, typically we advise to work in tandem with the business. So also with those departments that are probably not seeing the value of doing this. Yeah, define those potential quick wins together and work in an agile way together on quick wins. That is usually the best recipe for these kind of situations.
Obviously, the title of this webinar is to innovate as quickly, corporate innovate as quickly as startups. Frank just posed this question. So how long did it take to get the API or application in place for DSM? Is that something you can shed some light on?
Yeah, actually this get payment status example that I showed in the end, this was delivered in a couple of weeks. So we start with the business process in mind, and so we start from the top, So what does the virtual assistant needs to do at the chatbot software? Well, if somebody has an order number, then you want to retrieve the payment status, for instance. And this was really implemented in a couple of weeks into production at DSM.
Then there's a question from Henry. He asks, what does it mean for DSM regarding the support of their SAP instances? Not upgrading means that they're going to run out of support. Is this something that that you address in your? I know you do, but maybe you can explain a little bit, how that plays out.
Yeah, in fact, by doing digital innovation in this way, DSM is buying themselves a lot of time. So I'm not saying that they are not going to upgrade to, for instance, SAP for HANA. They will at a certain point, but there was no necessity to do it right now. So now they deliver a lot of digital innovation projects to the business. Business is satisfied with what IT delivers, and they can do in their own pace the migration, and maybe a clean migration to a new SAP system or another ERP version.
Then Eric has a question. He says, nice innovation. Was the effect measurable in business terms, or did the application result in additional business results, revenue, or market share growth? I'm not sure if you can, obviously DSM is a listed company. I'm not sure if you can divulge all of the, let's say, business critical information, but is there a measurable effect in terms of business growth?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on the different use cases, but I showed the use case of selling more products and selling their existing products and services on additional marketplaces, and like Alibaba, for instance, in China. This resulted in big more revenue growth by adapting to the digital API of external marketplaces. If you can sell your existing services and products via those remote marketplaces, then it might open up complete new markets for your company.
And this was actually the case for DSM as well.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So one of the I talked about the organization of innovation, and what we see happening within many corporate environments is that either they put an innovation or a growth team separate from their current innovation or actually current organization, and have them work on innovative plays. And if you couple that with the realization that many of the innovations have impact on either the digital or the IT landscape, how can Sofware AG sort of enable innovation teams in the organization who have to work in an agile way, who have to deliver results fast, who are sort of measured on their impact, and don't want to be sort of held back by a traditional IT environment? Do you have a solution for that, to enable innovation teams who work somewhere a little bit on the side of the business?
Yeah, so what we see in successful organizations like DSM is that they work hand in hand in true agile teams. They have multiple agile teams delivering business results pretty quickly. Multimodal teams, combination of sometimes interface developers, SAP interface developers, combined with digital app developers, and it's all about the data. The data needs to be unlocked from all those different systems and made available either in the chatbot software or via the digital e-marketplace API or via a Mendix app. So yeah, that is the ingredients for success is having multimodal teams working hand in hand together.
any more questions at this point. So with this webinar, we shared some insights on how to have richer innovation plays than just maybe your traditional innovations. We shared best practices on what do best-in-class innovators do, and Wilfred just shared how Sofware AG with their platform can enable innovators in the corporate environment. So we have some goodies for you at the end of this webinar, and the first one is a ebook we would like you to have. It's the Innovation Readiness ebook. It's available at the top right-hand part of your screen. I see already 10 people have downloaded it already. So within that ebook, we describe basically the 7 best practices and also the learnings from our initiation of the Innovation Readiness Benchmark. And it also includes a link to the Innovation Readiness Benchmark if you want to take part in it yourselves. So another sort of goodie we would like to share with you is a report from Gartner. Maybe Wilfred, you can share a little bit the value of the Gartner report that we are offering today.
Yeah, this Gartner report gives insight in how to apply an integrated platform as a service with API management capabilities. So this is also what was put in place via the Sofware AG technology at DSM.
Okay, great. So then at the start of the webinar, I promised you that there was something to be won from this webinar. Actually pertains to the Innovation Readiness Benchmark. So if you take part in the Innovation Readiness Benchmark within a week, we will actually pick a winner, and we will provide you with a copy of Dare, the book I wrote together with Eric. So take part in the Innovation Readiness Benchmark before, say, next week, Tuesday. We'll pick a winner. We'll let you know if you won, and if you can share your details, then we'll send you a book and give you another one to share with either a colleague or a business partner. So I guess that's sort of a double whammy. You get your insights, you get your you can assess your own innovation performance against the benchmark, and you win. You get a chance to win a book. So if that doesn't make you happy this morning, then I don't know what does. Anyway, just want to thank you for taking part in this webinar this morning. Hopefully, you gained some valuable insights.
Handout.
So the handout is available also on the right side of the screen. We'll make sure that you get an email as well with all of the materials included. If you have any questions after this webinar, obviously get onto LinkedIn, find me or Wilfred, make a connection, and extend the conversation through those channels. With that, I would like to again thank you for your attendance, and I would say stay safe, stay healthy, and let's get some business results in unifying business and IT. Have a good day and speak soon. Thank you, Art. Bye-bye.